Okay. Okay, welcome everyone. I'm very sorry we're having all these technical difficulties, but Google changed some of its system, the way it works, and so we don't understand what happened, but we'll have to find out next time. But I will go ahead and give the whole seminar, and there won't. The only problem is we will not be able to get your messages, which is unfortunate, but there's nothing we can do. All right, so what we're doing now is I'm going to share with you what are the criteria by which we actually go ahead and choose what we're going to focus on in these sessions. And this is a choice worked out by myself and the master about what is going to be the most helpful and beneficial to you. So we don't focus a lot on massive detail about all the past history of the galactic civilizations or anything like this, because that's not that fundamentally that relevant right now to what's happening in the world. We are providing you with knowledge, wisdom, and direction, which will help you understand how you can become an active co-creator with the Light Alliance. So one of the ways is the most helpful is to share your light and confidence in the ultimate outcome of this transition we're going through. As there are so many people who are confused and upset by events, or they're lost in these very dark speculations or disinformation about imaginary disasters that is being circulated by the cabal. So what we are going to be doing through this whole fall series is to share with you a deeper background and understanding of the context within which all this chaotic world of information overload can be understood. And so you have a deeper understanding of the different levels of information that's showing up, how you can develop the capacity to discern for yourself what is real and what is not real in this huge, massive chaos on the internet and everywhere. So first of all, it's important to know that Earth and humanity is not simply moving through a difficult period where adjustments are required to have everything, turn out back to normal, which is what people are hoping. And that's just not going on right now. That is not going to happen. So, that is an expectation of large numbers of people that is what's going to result. And those who control and hold most of the resources in the world expect their position to be fundamentally unchanged. And they're doing everything they can to ensure that this is our shared future. And many ordinary people do not want things to change because they have their lives somewhat organized. Even if it's difficult, at least they can predict that they'll be able to manage and be okay. But there is a group of us on the planet who are exceptions to this, who are people who intuitively sense the magnitude of the coming changes and the reorganization of our human and natural life. We know that there's a huge shift underway. So the fundamental reality with that is that there's very little that can be done to repair, reorient, and reconstruct the decaying systems, as they are based on false values and principles of greed, control, manipulation, and dominance, with no thought of the good of the whole. These are fossilized, dying systems, and the highest stance for us is to just let them go, and instead focus on building a new web of principle-based relationships that demonstrate that the good of the whole also creates the good of each individual. This consciousness is the key to entering the emerging new 5D world, which thousands of people are discovering every day. Every corporate executive who resigns from an exclusively profit-driven focus and aligns their work with the good of the whole enters the new world, a world of sharing with like-hearted souls, and experiences the joy of building something for the good of all. So every creative individual who uses their skills and genius to create new ways to help people grow, new products and make people safer and more dynamic and able to contribute is helping to lead people into the new world. So there's a lot going on here. And every new initiative to help people become economically self-sufficient, rebuild their homes and communities, live healthier lives, protect their communities and natural environment from exploitation and pollution, educating their children on how to live creative and joyful lives, to build the strength of the Light Alliance and weaken the cabal. That is what happens when people do this. So this is the core of the unfolding change on our planet. And despite all the plots and manipulations of the cabal, it is coming to nothing for all their efforts. We are winning, and we are going to fully win this whole great battle. That's because the rising tide of light pouring into our planet on every level is making it increasingly difficult to implement anti-evolutionary plans and vastly energizing and supporting all efforts to contact, share, and circulate lighted ideas and plans for humanity and the world. So we're like a group. You know, when there's a battlefield, there's always a group where there are commanders and officers who assume a position where they can oversee all that is occurring in the great battle. And it's important for us to maintain this position because we're not intended to be battling directly against these dark forces, except for some specific people who do have that warrior intention, that in their sole mission to be a warrior and fight against it. Most of us, rather, our place is to stand on the heights and to above the fog of battle and observe and report to others how this plan is actually unfolding. So, and then we have also the subtle battlefields. There's what's happening on the physical dimension in 3D, and there's also we are seeing the larger picture even on the subtle levels. That's part of our task, is to be aware of what's going on in those levels. So we need to see clearly, stand steady, sound the note of light, and share the clear plan to help people see what are the higher choices and direction that the Light Alliance is totally mobilizing us and supporting us in moving into. We are getting a tremendous amount of help. All we need to do is be open to it and respond to it. So, and our task is to provide an inspiring vision to the vast alliance of co-workers, all the light workers around the world, and use meditation and visualization to bring them energetic support and call in the reinforcing energies of the higher spiritual beings of our great Light Alliance. So we have to hold all this in mind as our proper role as we examine all this information, which is huge, and much of it is quite distorted. And we're going to talk more about this. So let's take a look at what's going on with the election. Okay, the manipulation of energies by the dark forces has caused fluctuations in the polls and people's opinions. And these polls will continue to vary, and they will ultimately, there will be a shift. And this will continue in clarifying who the people are who are running. I'm talking about Hillary and Trump. And the debates will be key in this, as it is an opportunity to see clearly the differences between these two people and what they stand for, who they are internally in terms of values, psychologically, and what they really are all about energetically. We will get to see that close up in these debates, which is going to be very, very key. And so it's clear that, you know, that is going to be a clarifying process, very important. So the other thing that's going on is Trump's mind is deteriorating because it's running on negative energy, which is what he primarily knows. In a sense, he's possessed by this energy that runs his emotions, his hyper-reactive ego, which he has no control over, and his very slight grasp of policy ideas is becoming more and more tenuous. And all this will become very, very clear to more and more people. So the evil forces have mobilized their minions and launched all-out negative energy attacks against Hillary. She is protected, and the positive response coming from the Light Alliance and all those within humanity working with the light forces will push back and overcome the cabal's effort. So, but it is a very challenging time for the light on the planet right now because there's so much darkness being circulated in so many different ways. So Hillary has stated clearly her opposition to the TPP, and as things unfold, the use of fracking will no longer be necessary, as the new energy systems will replace the need for this kind of extraction of energy from the earth and the mother. So this will fully occur leading up to the day of revelation and be completed once that event happens. The day of revelation is when there's its gigantic flood of love, which will pour into the earth, raising the frequency of earth to such a level that most people who are not, anyone who is not aligned with and focused in the field of love will not be able to remain here. And they will be taken and placed in where they can be allowed to evolve in a environment where they are matched with, their own frequency is matched by the surrounding environment, so they can continue their evolution in this process. So despite all the disinformation that's being provided by the cabal, Hillary does not have any major illness. However, she is suffering from some exhaustion. Of course, she's being attacked constantly day and night on inner levels, outer levels. She has a lot of protection, but that does not mean it's not extremely tiring to have to be faced with this all the time. So Trump has invoked the forces of chaos, hate, and separation. And so there's been a line currently drawn, and the choice is very, very clear, but it rests with the American people. The people themselves are volatile and unsure, but seeing them face to face, it will become clearer to those with good sense and hearts who is the right choice. The battle on the internet and in the media is setting up a definitive choice of seeing where the light is found in the midst of all this evil propaganda and hatred. The Light Alliance has confidence in the heart of humanity, including Americans. And their view is that she is highly likely to win the election. That's what they're saying. Now, this does not mean absolutely, but the chances of Trump winning are extremely slim. Now, there's another additional dimension to this election that has not been talked about, only very superficially, and that is the gender conflict that is influencing a lot of what is going on in people's attitudes and choices. There are many men in the United States who are heavily conditioned and they are at a stage of evolution where they do not know how to relate to a powerful woman because of the lack of development of their own inner feminine side of their being. Their subconscious holds an inner image of a woman as dependent, lesser than they, and not as capable. A strong woman disturbs some men whose subconscious holds this traditional belief and feelings about women and men. Men should be in control. Men are smarter. They are better. They can be in charge. Even though this has been eroded by the progress in women's rights, and the underlying subconscious attitudes are still present. Because it challenges men's own self-image of what it means to be a man in relationship to a woman. The man should be the one who calls the shots, who brings in the money and makes it all happen. That's not happening in that way anymore from many, many people. And therefore, it has made men very unsure about who they are in relationship to women. Also, men are holding much repressed rage against women who have rejected them, manipulated or controlled them, and reduced or denigrated their fragile self-worth. Of course, men are still responsible for their anger, violence, and destructive words and actions against women. So that is still causing tremendous pain and suffering. There are also some women who primarily relate to other women as competitors in the struggle for men's approval, attraction, and support, and the societal rewards that accompany this approval. And every time a woman has shamed, manipulated, or controlled men for their own benefit, has contributed to this massive gender problem worldwide. And women are also deeply conflicted because they have strong needs for a powerful man to protect them and help them feel safe in a dangerous world. These are some of the deeper dynamics underlying the selection, and without understanding them, one cannot fully see the depth of the subconscious and conscious issues being played out through it. On the other hand, women and girls are subconsciously very happy to see a strong woman as a nominee for president, as they can draw on their strength. And they also feel themselves attacked when Trump denigrates Hillary and other women. So these dynamics are mostly unrecognized by men and many women. Thus, part of the solution is to hold and create and ask for a deeper level of compassion from both men and women towards each other and the evolutionary challenges we're facing. And above all, we need gender peace and reconciliation on our planet. That is the fundamental shift that's required. So Trump is fulfilling his spiritual assignment, which is to surface and embody every unstated negative belief and attitude that has been present but usually hidden or only mildly expressed. Trump's attacks have given legitimacy to open floodgates to express the tidal wave of suppressed rage and hatred against any race, gender, nationality, or religion different from one's own. This is a simplistic answer to dealing with the chaos of a world transiting from 3D through 4D and into 5D consciousness, of really experiencing oneness and love. So the fourth dimension, the astral plane, is a realm of fantasy and desires, self-created and distorted worldviews, and a self-created and distorted worldview, which people hope will become the reality for everyone. It is the same distorted, childish, fourth-dimensional desire and fantasy that says, I want my fantasy future to be everyone's, whether it's the cabal's endless plots, ISIS, Trumpism, fundamentalist Christianity, or anything else. And the people who espouse these fantasies live by the attitude of, if you cannot agree or support my plan, I will control or destroy you. This is what's going on with so many of these conflicts. They're total fantasies fed by all the dark energies present. All of these approaches, however, are doomed to fail because they do not allow those with different worldviews to function within the matrix of love, to be present and live together in peace. If a future vision requires a wall of separation to make it even possible, it will fail. Fifth dimensional reality does not support walls of any kind, and every attempt at creating them bars you from entrance into a higher frequency reality of 5D. For a worldview to become fully universal and upheld by everyone, it must include space for everyone who is able to experience the unity of life and support the creation of a world that reflects love. Differing views are welcomed as long as they are based on love and honor the right for all to coexist, flourish, and share their gifts with each other. Those who are not capable of understanding or living by these truths will be allowed to continue their evolution in locations most beneficial to their growth, where they cannot cause harm to those who wish to live in a higher fifth dimensional consciousness. This is the fundamental shift that's taking place on our planet. It hasn't been fully actualized at this point, but it is coming. So everyone who lives below or outside the level of reason, with little or no soul observer active within them, and therefore are best left to their own self-created future, which will result from their thoughts, emotions, and attitudes. So the original reptilian aliens, who were the embodied leaders of the Cabal and the creators of it, have all been removed from the physical plane. They have remained on the astral plane for some time, but now have been nearly completely removed on the astral level as well. They are being removed, sent through a portal where they have a choice to either be rehabilitated or annihilated in the galactic central sun. It is their choice. So there are very few of them left on the astral plane and none on the physical plane. Creating this transition for them into a place where they can continue to evolve from their current separative or even violent states of consciousness, while keeping the world protected from their ignorance and delusion, is one of the core endeavors of the Light Alliance at this time. Trump is assisting in this by coalescing and helping people make their individual choices about the frequency of the environments they are choosing to inhabit in the future. This will fully occur with the day of revelation, as those who cannot vibrate at the frequency of love will be moved to other locations where they will no longer be able to interfere with the evolution of our planet. So this is the future that we're looking forward to. It is coming. It is being developed, created, and unfolding, and it will continue. So that is part of the process. Now, how is the Cabal's control being broken down? The great higher beings who guard and guide our Earth see Earth as a beautiful, potentially beautiful playground, a creative field where everyone can build and create with joy anything they can imagine, as long as it does not harm others and benefits the whole. That's the vision for our planet. And this is what's unfolding. Give me a blanket. We can imagine what the world would be like it would be a wonderland of creativity with the free play of all this divine energy. Yet because of the influence of the intruding aliens and the systems they established and convinced many people to be part of, they have manipulated humanity into living within and assisting their evil, dark control systems and have nearly destroyed our beautiful Earth. However, the creators and guardians of this planet have always stood in support of humanity growing to greater realization of our own wisdom, where we can free ourselves of these dark forces and control and guide life on Earth for the good of all. This is happening. It's underway. So after millennia of struggles, humanity was still suffering under their intensifying control of the Earth. And because of this condition, resulting from 9/11 and the way that dark forces gain more control after that. The Solar Council, after deep deliberation and for the best interests of humanity and the entire solar system's evolution, decided to authorize the Galactic Light Alliance civilizations to remove these invading aliens. And that, so the Light Alliance gave permission, or the Light Alliance received permission to intervene and break down the power of the Cabal. This unwinding of their control has been actively underway for decades and is now reaching a culminating point. Not only are the dark aliens being removed from the physical plane, they are also being uprooted and driven from their strongholds on the astral plane as well as the physical plane, captured and sent through the portal where they can choose rehabilitation or ending their existence. As a result of this breakdown of their dark control, all light workers, whether aware of the Light Alliance or not, are finding new freedom to create the essential framework for the new world, using input from the fifth dimension, inspiring ideas from the Light Alliance, and in many cases, the active involvement of the Light Alliance in very practical ways of supporting initiatives going on in the world. So this is happening, and it is very, very profound and powerful. So the astral plane, as with all the planes, has 7 subplanes composed of different grades of energy, from the greatest levels of evil and darkness to the highly lighted energies vibrating at frequencies similar to what we experience in celestial choir music. It is also the plane of the imagination, ranging from dark fear and hate-driven dimensions to lighted visions of higher worlds and radiant futures for life on Earth. It also is the realm of desires, where the quality of our conscious and unconscious focused desires will bring us into contact on inner levels with what we desire. The astral plane also contains a vast number of images, thought forms, and fields of energies held within the huge reservoir of all this thought and all types of ideas and images that humanity has created. The desire to do harm to some individual or group creates an energetic rebound that will ultimately affect its creator. This is especially true if the desire is held strongly enough with mental energy and causes harm to others. So, what we have today is a vast number of people meditating and receiving all kinds of inner contact and messages and meeting beings and all kinds of things going on within their experiences on the inner levels. However, what they can access depends entirely on the object of their desires, the frequency level that they can maintain in their meditations, and how free they are from their own individual glamours. A glamour is a confusing emotional energy that is present in each individual's subconscious and conscious field, resulting from their unresolved issues that are still influencing them. So this can cause all kinds of complexes and different reactions to what happens when they meditate. So we can see this in many, many ways. So people who are driven by a desire for power will be very much oriented towards that reality. This affects what each individual can perceive. So when you would like to be spiritually recognized or have certain gifts and abilities, and that's why you're searching for this contact, those things will come to you. And since the veils between the levels are now thinning, as we have more and more light pouring into the planet, the veils are getting thinner. And the astral plane is one of the easiest planes to contact, rather than the higher intuitive levels. So that is mostly what people are accessing, is the astral plane. And it is also true that the astral plane is a plane where the cabal is very active, using various manipulative techniques to focus, stimulate, and direct human thought and emotion into dimensions where they can be easily confused and led into negative states of fear, despair, hopelessness, and all the accompanying behaviors. So this makes it easier for them to manipulate humanity. And this can occur through beings masquerading as guides or spiritual teachers, such as Jesus, Buddha, ETs, or any other figure known to the individual seeking guidance. These imposters will appear as lighted beings, teachers, or any other form particularly appealing to those they are communicating with. They are often based on the recipient's deepest desires and longings for being recognized, singled out as special, and chosen because of their great spirituality, virtue, or some other quality. This type of contact is often used by the meditator to claim a special status as a messenger and worthy of people's attention and respect. This is the situation today, where thousands of people are filling the internet with their statements, supposed truths, and prophecies, most of which carry fear, stress, and dark images of our future. And they have little to do with our lighted future that is being created. People, without knowing it, and despite their sometimes good intentions, are serving the purposes of the cabal. Because the cabal's goal is to distract humanity with images of fearful futures, create division, hate, and conflict between engineered enemies, thus helping to create the dark and negative futures they are projecting into human consciousness. So this is a very subtle process where the inner visions and possibilities for what people believe is going to happen is being influenced by these dark control processes. So this is very disturbing to humanity. And you can see the massive amount of illusion that's present if you go onto the internet and, look at the content that's present in the internet and evaluate, how much of this gives a larger positive vision, inspires and gives you love and hope and ideas on how we can create the new future, and how much of it is based on fear, hatred, separation, and all these other qualities. And that will give you a measurement of how much the Light Alliance has permeated human consciousness and how much the dark side still is active. And when you look at this, you can see that it looks almost like 50-50, but it's better than that, but it's still not, totally infused with this light that needs to come in to really affect people's consciousness completely. So people can choose with the astral plane. They can have experiences like battling dark entities on the astral plane and many other kinds of things, which all seems very real to them. So you can think of it like a endless array of imaginary games, like internet games. And you can enter into and play these games. However, they're not free. The cost of entrance is your life energy, attention, and the potential manipulation of your being from evil purposes. That's what a lot of this is about. So they're an influence on humanity from lower levels to those who vibrate to them. And the Kabbalah is trying to keep humanity focused on these lower astral frequencies in order to lower human consciousness and keep it preoccupied with wars and threats rather than the Light Alliance and the plan for the new civilization. It's all about where your attention is focused. And people do not understand how powerful and essential this ability to choose where your consciousness is focused and what you're giving energy to actually influences your life, the way things unfold for you, and the life of the world. And so this is part of a huge shift that needs to take place in being much more aware of what we're choosing to focus on. And people, a large portion of the population still does not understand this. And so they will watch the most ghastly stuff on TV, on movies, books, read the most horrifying, ghastly things, and then they feel horrible and they don't understand why they're depressed. But that's what's going on. It's a big part of it. So it's so crucial to be extremely careful about selecting what you place your attention on. And I don't mean just reading a book. I mean just in every moment, what am I thinking about? What am I giving my attention and energy to? This is so fundamental about what is really happening and how it determines your life experience. And the only way I can have found to really deal with this is to be more and more present and conscious of what you're doing with your mind and your emotions and your physical every single moment. There's no, and the Beatles had that old song about, what your mind gets up to when you're away. Well, when you're away and you're not paying attention to what you're doing in your being, because you're distracted by something else, but something else can be going on in the background, this is the key, is to bring yourself totally present into what am I thinking? What's going on in my mind? What's going on in my emotions? Why am I feeling this? What's going on? This is my subconscious causing this whole problem of how I feel about myself or about the world, and then beginning a dialoguing process with your subconscious about how you can bring this into conscious functioning and help your subconscious understand why it's so detrimental to continue to do that for you. So this is really, really essential. So at the same time, the Light Alliance and the Masters are to bring the power of our creative imagination and thought to our full attention. They're teaching people how to use their thought and imagination to create the future all lighted people in the world desire, teaching them how. Didn't you get any information about the questions?
Yes, people can type in a question on the YouTube chat box. Ginger then will text them to me, and I'm sitting here next to Gordon with a cell phone, and I will give Gordon the questions.
So you have some questions now?
Yeah, I guess there's some coming in, and people can type them in. So I hope you can all hear me with that. We found a way around the problem. We've never had this problem before, so we don't quite know why. But anyways, you're all watching on YouTube. That's the way it automatically sent you this time. Just type in a question as you usually would, and then Ginger, our assistant, will send them to me, and I will read some of them to Gordon, and he'll answer some of them. Okay?
Okay.
So
great.
We'll have a little interaction there.
Good. Yes, so it's very important to have a chance for people to ask about what I'm sharing so that you can clarify any questions. So do you have any questions to ask right now? Do you?
Not right now. Keep going, and I will let you know as they come in.
All right. So go ahead and type your questions in on the YouTube chat box. Is it the chat box?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then we will be able to respond to those. That's great. Thank you for working that out.
Hopefully.
So when we look at the state of the internet, let's say, or all the other information in the infosphere, as they say, what we find is an indication of where we are in the process. And so this shows us, as committed light workers, where we need to focus our efforts and attention.
And excuse me, one other thing, you can also email your question to worldtransfiguration.org, right? The email?
That's not an email address.
Right.
It's
well, that's what she said to do. Is that
World Transfiguration? No, what is the address? It's Ginger or me or something. Not me. Don't.
No, World Transfiguration will go to you both.
At what?
.org.
It's
Right?
not
No, .com. Okay, sorry. We'll work it out.
It's not an email address. You have to give them an email address.
Isn't that the email address?
Well, if you're going to email something, you have to have an email address.
No, that's the email address.
World Transfiguration.
.com.
No, that's at. Where's the at?
World
It's not a real address.
Okay.
Find out from Ginger what's the right address.
She says worldtransfiguration@gmail.com. There you go.
So you can email worldtransfiguration@gmail.com, and we will get it that way. So you can either text us from the
no, not text.
No.
Chat. Type in
the chat.
YouTube chat box.
In the YouTube chat box.
Ginger will send it to us.
Or email at worldtransfiguration@gmail.com. Okay. I'm sorry about all these technical issues, but we're doing our best. Okay. So now, so you realize that it's an info war. It's on the subtle planes. It's on the internet. It's about whose vision of truth and reality is going to ultimately be accepted by humanity. That's the subtle level of the entire situation we're in right now. So we have to figure out, as light workers, what are we going to do in response to this situation? So the first thing is, it's not to be avidly reading the latest posting predicting yet another planetary disaster, detailing the convoluted activities of the cabal, or the latest supposed revelation of someone's wrongdoing, often completely fabricated. All of this aids the cabal's efforts to distract us from what is essential and creative. Instead, we need to be engaged with much more fully understanding the higher plan, asking our soul how we can help, and directing our energy, time, support, and resources towards the mighty effort of all the light workers and light alliance in the world. We can each hold our focus on the higher vision for humanity and our world, and take steps to implement this vision in practical and energetic ways by circulating light, love, and spiritual truth throughout the field of human consciousness. We can thus be assured we are making a creative and powerful contribution to defeating the dark forces and creating the world our heart longs for. In other words, we have to move from passive consumers of information, much of which is completely distorted or false or intending to confuse and distract us, and focus on becoming active, creative players, not passive consumers of what's out there. Because the out there stuff is endless. It's being generated by a lot of people who are well-intentioned, but they are receiving information from the inner level that is sourced from the cabal, from their own fears, desires, and everything else within themselves, within the collective field of humanity with all its desires and fears as well. Just as an example, for the astral plane, everything that's ever happened to humanity and the way humanity has reacted to it emotionally is present on the astral plane. Now just think about what that means. Suppose you were in Atlantis and you were there when the destruction of that whole world and that continent took place. And there was a massive disaster and earthquakes and rain and all this stuff. And you suffered, you died. Everything you knew died. So can you imagine how you react on a subconscious level when you hear disaster prophecies about things like this? And what happens is many, many people are go into their process, and then they begin to repeat or put forth what they actually receive, which is what they actually experienced, or some version of it, or their emotional reaction to what they experienced. So all that is going on too from the astral plane. So, and the astral plane is called by deeper spiritual traditions the plane of illusion. It's almost impossible to create a space to stand and focus and work from on the astral plane. It's extraordinarily difficult, and you have to be extraordinarily skilled and experienced and trained. So the better option is to focus on the higher intuitive planes where your soul resides, and make that the place you stand to then look at, process, and deal with all this massive information, disinformation, illusions, and confusions that humanity is under. Unfortunately, in this country, in many countries in the West, and around the world, there is very little understanding of these kind of realities at all. So when people start getting something in their meditation, they go, oh, great, I got it. I'm getting information. Oh, they're talking to me. Oh, my goodness, this is it. And then off you go. And you're off to the races with a whole bunch of stuff that you have no idea where it's coming from, what it is, or who's behind it, or the history of it, and unaware that your personal, emotional desires, glamours, experiences are totally coloring and influencing what you're receiving. That's the essence of the whole problem with people channeling and getting information. The worst of all is channeling, because when you go unconscious and you allow anything that happens to be floating around in the higher astral plane, or lower astral plane, you're inviting them in. You know, if you don't have any criteria set up, you don't have any screens, if you don't have anything to say, I only want to speak to that and that, and even then you have to be extraordinarily careful. So this is all part of the mix. So it's not simple as the way everybody thinks it is. Okay, so Karine has something.
Okay, so you want to just read it, or you want me to read it?
Which one?
Okay, so can't we work on clearing the astral plane was the first question.
Okay, can we work on clearing the astral plane? Well, if you really know what the astral plane is, it is gigantically huge field of energy. Yes, we can bring light into it and clear it. The first step in that is always working on clearing your own glamours, your own emotional reactions, conditions, subtle underlying attitudes and expectations about what you want or what you should experience or anything else. That's the beginning point to clear the astral. You're clearing your own astral body and removing these glamours, these confused images and everything that's built up there is very, very helpful in clearing the astral. That's where we begin. Once we get to the point where the whole thing is completely clear within yourself, then you can begin to do real powerful work on clearing the astral. But, you know, working with your subconscious is what you have to do to remove all these ancient patterns within you. And that's not a simple process. It's much, much more complex than most people think. You can't just do a few affirmations or, you know, send light to your subconscious and hope it's all going to be well. It's not that simple. These patterns are deeply ingrained, and they need to be addressed at the deep level where they're held. Can you get that so we can read it? And so that's what's necessary. And that's how you help clear the astral. Okay, let's see.
Okay.
Go back.
Okay, so somebody asked if we need to defeat Trump, just like it was really important to defeat Hitler.
Yes, absolutely. You are on the right track when you understand the significance of what is going on here with this election and Trump. And, you know, there's three ways of interpreting information or events or anything. The first level is the symbolism of it. What is showing up in the actual event, which symbolizes some of the underlying forces that are at play in an event. And that's very clear in many, many ways when you see, you know, all kinds of examples of the symbolism of, you know, some event showing that this person is doing something wrong. People, their names can give you a great hint about this, what the meaning is behind it, these kind of things. Meaning then is the level of love being revealed. So when something happens, you look at what is being, how is love being developed, expressed, or the lack of it showing up in a situation or an event, or whatever people share. So that's where meaning comes in. So if something's meaningful, like you go and have a connection with a group of people you love and you have a great time and you're all feeling love and it's connected, that's meaningful to you, because, and to everyone, because that love energy is present and you're actually experiencing it. That's the key. You're really able to know that that love is present. The final level is the level of significance. And significance is focused on what is, or to what degree is the planetary purpose of transforming all of what's here and turning this into a planet of light and all the rest of it. To what degree is that purpose being developed, manifest, or shown not to be present or whatever, but to the degree to which something is related to the planetary purpose. So you could say the latest golf tournament is not really very significant. It may not even be meaningful, but it's always symbolic of who wins and loses and what they represent. But significance is about an event that has planetary resonances. So the point you made about defeating Trump is equivalent to defeating Hitler is absolutely relevant, and it is part of the significance of this election and this time, because all of what Trump has so fully and astonishingly perfectly embodied and expressed of the attitudes that have brought this world to an absolute state of turmoil and potential real disaster, although it won't really happen, but is everything he stands for, everything he embodies, the way he is. And today it's not an organized force of evil like Hitler, where he had everything lined up. He had tremendous amount of organization and all that to do what he did. Trump is an embodiment of the unrestrained maniacal ego. And that is as dangerous as Hitler was. It's done in a different way, but it's influencing people to follow along in that pattern. As I said, it has opened the floodgates to massive amounts of expression of hatred and negativity. It's made it more acceptable to hold those views and express those views and involve yourself in those views. That is a clear expression of evil for our times, and it's no small matter. So we are moving, and I think we will see, as I said, the debates themselves will be a clear process where all that is comparable one to the other and all the rest. I don't know for sure how the debates are going to go, and if it turns out to be a disaster for Hillary, it could affect the election. So the debates are very, very important. So what I suggest is that all of us, as we get closer to, and not right only the day of or the time of, but also just in the weeks ahead of it, focus our attention, our energy, our love on supporting Hillary with love, support, and energy. Now, I know Hillary is not the perfect candidate. I know that she has issues, some issues. However, I must say that they have been grossly overplayed and exaggerated, with massive amounts of complete lies being generated about her and her history and everything she's done. I mean, to the point of saying, oh yes, she supplied guns to ISIS. I mean, the level of stupidity and insanity that's involved in this kind of stuff is breathtaking. And it's all over the internet, and they got pictures to prove it. I mean, they don't. People forgot about Photoshop. I mean, so you really have to be extraordinarily careful and see through so much of this craziness that's going on. It's really crazy. So our goal, regardless of what you think of Hillary, is for between the forces of light and dark, there is no question about the two of them. So our effort should be to bring our love, our energy, our support fully to this situation, to supporting her around the debates before and after and all of it, because she's really under an unbelievable attack at every level. So that's my thought about that. Thank you for the question. Okay, which one?
You want to read it, or can you read it? He's reading the questions on my cell phone that Ginger has sent from what you've typed in.
Okay, so the question is, Cabal is no longer on the planet, yet you keep on mentioning our fear feeds into it and what they want, etc. Okay, there's two things, and I'm sorry I did not make this clear, which is there is the Cabal originators, the ones who created it, who kept it in place. I'm talking about aliens from outside the planet, okay? And they've been here a long, long time. And the whole revolution that we're undergoing right now is because there was a decision by the Solar Council to help allow the Light Alliance, these advanced civilizations, to remove them from the planet. And they are pretty much all gone. However, there is a vast number of human beings who have totally cooperated with them, learned their tricks. Some of them can't do everything that the alien members of the Cabal couldn't do, but they can do some of them, because some of them were, using the mind to control large numbers of people, using all kinds of, ways of controlling people that most humans can't do. But the humans who are part of that whole system are still very much here. And they are still desperately trying to keep the system going because they are the ones who are getting massive benefit from it, right? They got the money, they got the power, they can do a lot of things but they cannot do a lot that they used to be able to do. They are losing power. And that's very demonstrable in terms of the amount of information that's coming out about, say, free energy is radically increasing. It's coming out all over the place on the internet and everywhere. And that is showing that the inventors and the good people who have all these systems are no longer feeling the pressure or the fear of being, basically could be killed for revealing this information. No longer. That's not happening anymore. There are many other areas where in the control of the financial system, control of other systems, their power is receding, but they're still here, but not with the same level of control and power that they had. That's the truth of it. Okay, I hope that clarifies that point.
Okay, I'll just read it. Many of us are aware of the tremendous Earth weather changes underway at the moment, and we are noticing increasing chaos and social unrest in our world. Is there any possibility, ? I think they mean any possibility that there will be, more disaster from this. So if you want to just address that whole issue.
Yeah. I mean, what people are experiencing is, yes, the climate upheaval that's going on because of the warming of the planet and all these other factors. Remember that weather and outer planetary conditions also always reflect what is going on in human consciousness. Okay, it does. And we did one of our books, Spiritual Politics. We did a study of all these situations where the actual weather reflected what was going on, the upheavals in our inner consciousness around the elections and David Duke and all these things that were going on. There always is a reflection into the climate. So can you imagine when you have this massive chaos going on in the world, that it's going to affect the weather? It does. So what I've been told is that we are going to go through a certain period of this kind of problem where the weather gets chaotic and all that. It's also affecting people's consciousness, and because the energies are increasing. The light is pouring in more and more every day. Now, people who are unstable, afraid, emotionally unbalanced, and everything else are heavily influenced by this. And it is causing them to be fearful and see everything as disaster is about to descend. And if you only have a traditional scientific or mainstream view, that's not an illogical conclusion. So the only thing that changes that is the fact that there's all this other levels of consciousness and things going on that are totally aimed at mitigating any disaster, totally mitigating any financial collapse. How many years have people been predicting the total collapse of the financial system? Since I've been active in this field, about 30. And how many total collapses of the financial system have we seen? Well, we had one sort of close call, in 2008, but it has not been like a massive collapse. Same thing with all of the statements about, Earth changes are going to happen and the planet's going to be massive earthquakes and California's going to the sea and blah, 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 blah. I've been around for 50 years listening to this nonsense. And it hasn't happened yet, including Edgar Cayce and everybody else. They were all wrong. And the reason they're wrong is because they don't factor in, well, the changes. Cayce was pretty good, but the changes that happen in human consciousness totally change the possibility of these happening at all. That's what's going on. It's constantly changing because human consciousness is expanding, it is getting lighter, and things are really moving. So that mitigates all these disasters. And there's some kinds of people who just love to talk about disaster and get everybody frightened to death. And I think it's because it gives them a certain sense of power over human thought and human actions.
So here's a couple of questions, and that you might want to answer. Someone asked earlier, is Obama okay? He seems to have gone downhill. The U.S. military is keeping Israel at bay. No weapons fired, yet Obama and so on is signing aid bills to Israel, encouraging them to buy weapons from the U.S.
Yeah. Okay. Now this is when it gets very complex. And I'll just give it to you in a simple version.
And can we trust Obama? Somebody asked earlier.
Yeah, that's a reasonable question. About a year and a half ago, or around when we had the Supreme Court decisions about Obamacare, about there was some other voting that they gave, positive decisions towards implementing some good things. But the Supreme Court at that time was controlled by the cabal. And so what I got about all this is Obama made a deal with the cabal. He basically said, you give me these decisions that are very important and will make a big difference in the world. There was another one I can't remember. It was also very significant. Immigration. Oh, it was about immigration and not doing what some crazy person wanted to do. And so he made a deal with the cabal. The deal was, you pass things. There were 3 or 4 different questions up before the Supreme Court. And I will support TPP.
Trans-Pacific Partnership.
The Trans-Pacific Partnership. And Israel is a focal point for the dark side. Of that, there is no doubt. And not the people, but the group that controls it. And so that was also part of the deal, because he's trying to maintain a certain degree of relationship with the cabal and offer them certain things that they want. Okay, here's what the real game is. He knows, and many people know, TPP is never going to pass. It's not going to pass. Even if it does pass, it's never going to get implemented, because the changes that are coming are very close, and this stuff is never going to happen the way it is. There's going to be a huge shift in the whole system. Israel, as you someone I think hinted at it, is now under an embargo. They cannot fly outside of their own borders. They are being heavily pressured by the Light Alliance to, and their goal is to change all of this horrible stuff they're doing with the, apartheid for the Palestinians and all the other stuff that's going on, is ultimately going to change.
The military can't fly out of their own.
Yeah,
passenger planes can.
Yeah, the Israeli military cannot fly planes outside their borders, and so all this is being it's a control or an embargo or whatever by the Chinese, the Russians, and the U.S. That's going on through the military. That's real. But he's still trying to keep the game going by, showing that he's going to support the TPP so that the feels like he's got some degree of support for what they're trying to achieve. That's the way I got it, and that's what I'm reading. But he knows it's never going to happen. Neither of, even if they send some arms to Israel, by the time that all comes to pass, the whole thing is going to be irrelevant, because Israel will be in a completely different state of who's controlling it, who's running it, and all that. That's what I got about that. I know it's hard to grasp, and maybe you think it's crazy answer, but I'm pretty confident that's what's going on. Okay.
Okay. Also, Mark Lurch, who's been hosting our Facebook site, which is Galactic News, and then it's the initials for Live the Future Now, which is our website. So Galactic News, LTFN. They've been having a dialogue going on there right now. It's another place to type in questions. We can't take all the questions that are coming in, but
well, give me some more.
You can certainly join, ask to join, and Mark will accept you into the group.
Yeah.
And let me give you some more questions that are coming in.
I gotta go.
All right.
You just talk to me. Give me your wisdom.
Let me see which other questions are here that might want to be answered. There's a lot of good long questions, but the challenge of taking all of these is okay. I'll just read out some of the questions, and when Gordon returns, one is, what is happening with the chemtrails on the morning of August 26th? I watched a couple of dozens of planes crisscrossing the sky above Calgary in Canada, about an hour or so. And Gordon has said before, yes, there are still some chemtrails where they've been greatly reduced because the cabal has run out of money, and they're not doing anywhere near as many as they were. And also the light forces, the Light Alliance, are neutralizing the chemtrails, so the harm from them is not affecting people as much, anywhere near what it was before. So I think that's very key to be aware of. And let's see. Somebody was asking about general, I'll just read some of these so you can see the kind of questions coming in. Somebody asked about General Dumford is now president and Obama is out of the White House. I don't think so. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy things on the internet. That's why Gordon was giving you the information about how to evaluate what you read on the internet. Just because it's on the internet or in the newspapers, as you know, it's not always true, and there's a lot of distortion. There's a lot of what they call trolls who write very distorted, confusing, false information to confuse people, because they know a lot of people who are into more alternative worldviews, who are searching for the truth, who are trying to do some good work, do research on the internet. But listen, you need to be very careful about what you see on there. There's a lot of distortion. So let's see. All right.
Let me just skim.
You heard from, you could read that one. You want to read it out loud?
Yeah. So the question is, Matthew predicted Bernie will be the next president. I'm aware of those predictions. I'm not getting that that's going to occur. That's, unless there's some massive upheaval where something disqualifies Hillary and they decide to run Bernie. It is always a possibility, and I'm not going to rule it out, but that is a very slim possibility, but it could happen. I'm not saying it won't, but I'm saying it's not, it's very likely, is what I think is the truth. And
just remember, a lot of times people that have very good ideas and policies and correct analysis of the problems, like Ralph Nader did in 2000, and people supporting him were some of the votes that were not given to Gore that also contributed to Bush winning in 2000. So unfortunately, a lot of these good third-party candidates come along at the last minute and end up by just taking votes from probably the side that needs to win, that has more light. So we need to be aware of that. Start earlier with alternative candidates. Start 4 years before an election. Build the case. Let people get to know them, so that then, you know, there's a genuine possibility for them getting elected. And I think that's key to keep in mind, you know.
All right, I'm going to address this one because it's very prevalent. All this stuff about how can you say Clinton's a good choice? Blah,
Hillary.
blah, blah. Yeah, Clinton, Hillary. Okay. The biggest problem here is that people read something on the internet and believe that it's true with no evidence at all, other than somebody wrote an email and said such and such. For instance, Lady Rothschild, from emails found from Lady Rothschild. Who do you think wrote those emails? Who do you think made them available to everybody on the internet? It's like, this is stuff that maybe some kind of relationship was there, I don't know. But the idea that, you know, this is all true and everything you're reading on the internet is true is just 100,000 people dinner plates with these for a fundraiser. That's not, it's not credible. It's just simply not credible. And the other thing was, she wants to bring in the TPP. Well, she has said very specifically and clearly she does not support the TPP, will not support the TPP in the future. That's what she says. I don't know if it's absolutely going to be true, but it's a pretty audacious statement to make if, in fact, you're really planning on, you know, going out and changing your mind on that. I don't think that's going to happen. She's in bed with Wall Street. Well, she went to several big Wall Street companies, gave talks, said, you know, I don't know what she said, but as Jill Abramson from the New York Times, a senior editor and reporter who's investigated every controversy about Hillary for 20 years, the only criteria to say there's corruption is to say there was a specific reaction that was taken as a result of whatever exchange of money there was from this talk. There's nothing showing up like that. There's nothing showing up from all these people going to the Clinton Foundation, blah, blah, blah. It is a massive attempt, and it's extremely skillful at completely discrediting everything about Hillary, the foundation, her history, and losing complete sight of the fact that she is an experienced leader who knows how the system works, knows how to deal with heads of state in other countries. She knows a massive amount of the background of everything going on. And the assumption that everything she's ever done is corrupt is absolutely ludicrous. And anybody who believes this is just stepping outside. They're caught in a thought form. The thought form is Hillary's corrupt. That's Trump. Trump is very powerful at creating thought forms about other people and situations, naming them in a disparaging way, on and on. We've all seen this, but people do not understand that he is powerful on that level of creating images of people, of situations, and of deflecting criticism, lying all over the place to cover up what he's really done. That's his power. And it's totally corrupt, but it works, especially in this country, because people don't think and examine and look at the evidence. They only hear something on the internet. Oh, yes, it must be true. Everybody says it. And that's where the huge error is in Americans' consciousness. They don't know how to evaluate. And that's what I'm going to work on all this fall. Not everything I'll do, but is to focus on how do you evaluate these things. That's really crucial, because that's the problem we have.
And one key thing to think about, even with Hillary's emails, former secretaries of state Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice also use private email servers. It's very interesting, both Republicans.
Yeah, and you never hear, how often have you ever heard that about in the news?
Very rarely does that ever come out. And what's really interesting is if you think about the cabal trying to manipulate so much in the world, wouldn't you want to hide your private correspondence with different people around the world from, the prying eyes of the cabal. So, there could be a good justification for even that, although some say it was a security risk to do that. But, if you look at the bigger picture on a lot of these issues, new information comes forward that's important to evaluate. Do you want me to read some more of the questions there? There was one also, let's see. So he's just checking the messages, the questions that people had here. We'll take a couple more.
All right. We can go a little longer because we started very late. One of the things is about some catastrophic event I supposedly said was going to happen before that's not really the case. I never said there would be a catastrophic event. I may have been referring to the day of revelation, which is not necessarily going to happen before the election, but that may be what you're referring to. I'm not sure. The completion that people ask, what is the completion, so that we're getting closer to the day of revelation? We're in the 97% range. We're up there. It keeps growing.
Getting close.
Getting close.
That's why it's so intense.
I've seen this stuff about General Dunford is now the president. No, that's ridiculous. Not happening. Mark Lurch asked about are dark forces fighting against themselves? Yes, they're always fighting with each other, constantly, jockeying for position, trying to get more control. There's a huge struggle going on between them, as well as between them and the light forces. So that's all going on. What can women do to promote gender peace and reconciliation? It seems when we step into power, men are threatened. And we must rise to bring about greater gender balance. Absolutely true. I mean, it is very, very challenging right now on this planet because any change that happens in the social matrix is being used as a way to attack the light. And one thing you should know, I don't know if you ever heard this, but one of the funders for the Republicans stupidly made the announcement, though most people aren't smart enough to even pick it up, that they were going to spend $50 million on the internet to defeat Hillary. $50 million. Do you know how many trolls that will buy you? Do you know how many faked up videos you can create with that? Do you know how many people can be hired to constantly go on every website and attack Hillary? Everything else. But that's what's going on. And if you have to know this, you have to understand what's going on behind the scenes. It never shows up because the media is not doing their job at all. And it's up to us to figure out ourselves what the heck is really going on here, because it's very hard to find out otherwise.
And let me just add to Gordon's response about what women can do to bring in peace and justice. I would say first step is empowering yourself, just getting the courage to speak up, to contribute what your real gifts are. Secondly, to develop skill in action so you can do it in a more effective way. Sometimes we forget about that we need to get more skillful at what we do. And thirdly, I would say, is to have detachment. Give your gift, speak up, do whatever, but don't, if you don't see an immediate response, just plant the seed, and be detached from the results, because long-term, there are immense changes underway, particularly in rebalancing the feminine and masculine energies in the world. And that's why this election is so key and so intense, because it's part of this rebalancing that's so needed. Both masculine and feminine qualities are so needed in each of us and in the world. Each are really important, strength and perseverance and courage in the masculine side, and compassion and inclusiveness and all of the heart qualities on the feminine. We each need both of them in ourselves. And so that's what's really required today.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There's a couple more I'd like to answer, even though we're over time.
Okay.
Yeah, we're okay. That is, people ask about Nasara and all that.
Explain what NESARA is.
NESARA is an old version of an idea to reset the whole financial system, make big changes in the way it works and how it functions. That's a very old idea or plan that existed, oh, I don't know, about a decade ago. And people keep talking about it and we're trying to resuscitate it, but that's not where it's coming from now. And the plan is the plan that I've shared with you in detail about what and how this is all going to be implemented. Now, there are a lot of people still hanging on to the platform of NESARA as the plan, and it's not. It's bigger than NESARA's idea, and it's more comprehensive, and it involves bringing together the world leadership and together agreeing on a plan of how to redo the whole financial system. That is underway, the negotiations are ongoing, and progress is being made. And the full implementation of that is not going to happen until we go through the day of revelation where the dark side is removed. Otherwise, it's just going to be a war at many different levels, about fighting against what's trying to be done, which is what goes on now, and having everyone who's here on the same page about where we want to go and making this a decent planet that supports human life and the natural kingdoms and everything. That is being worked out, and it will come, but we can't predict when. People have been predicting the reval, the reorganization for how many years? 10, 15, 20? And how many revals have we had? Because they're making ideas. They get some idea and someone tells them something and they think that's it. Simple. There is an alignment that has to happen with our solar system and other solar systems, which will release this energy to clear out all this horrible garbage. Then we can have a complete reorganization of the planet. That's the vision I have. I don't have an exact date. I don't think it's going to be that long, much longer. But I can't tell you a date because even the masters don't know the date. I've asked them many times and they don't have the date because it's a process that has its own unfoldment. So people are saying, oh, it's going to happen on next November, September 30th or whatever. I feel sorry for the people who still even pay any attention to this. Yes, it's called hopium. People need hope. They want hopium. They'll take whatever they can get to give them some hope that this god-awful mess is going to change. And I don't blame them. I understand. It's horrible. But we are coming to the end of it in reality. That's my message. And when exactly, we will find out close to when it happens. I'm supposed to get advance notice by some number of days or weeks or whatever. But I have, and
you let them know.
I'll let you know as soon as I know. If I hear yes, it's coming, when or whatever, I will tell you. But I'm not going to feed you more hopium. Okay, so okay. Here's a good question. I guess this is from Ginger or somebody. How do we know the difference between real and true guidance and what's coming from ourselves? That is a very excellent question. And it is the question that we're going to focus on through this whole fall, next 3 or 4 sessions. I'm going to give you a way to understand the types of guidance, where it comes from, and then how to check and evaluate your own guidance, other people's guidance, and all the rest. Channeling everything that's being put out there as being beyond 3D. And give you very specific tools on how to work with this, okay? That is a very essential, very, very significant thing to do, and that's why I want to do it, and I will. Okay, let me just see if there's something else.
And by the next month, we will have the chat fixed so that you can see the live chat easily and we can respond to it. But at least we're getting the questions that are.
At least we're getting the questions, which was a very disappointment to me if we weren't going to be able to do this, because I love the questions. I think they're very good. So people ask, when is my new book coming out? Well, I'm still working on it. I had a little setback over the summer. I wasn't doing well health-wise, but I'm much better now. And so I will I am planning on getting it done soon. Okay. Any other questions before we go? Colleen has something. What?
Okay, just a reminder that our next session will be October 8th. Again, same time, 10 a.m. Pacific. And just a reminder, in the meantime, our Facebook forum is very lively. People are really engaged. They're putting up a lot of positive, inspirational things, a lot of information. So again, it's Galactic News, LTFN, which are the initials for Live the Future Now, which is our website. So check it out. Mark Lurch is doing an excellent job. Thank you, Mark, in hosting that. And you just go in and ask to join, and Mark will let you know. It'll be fine. So we thank you, everyone, for participating.
Yeah. Oh, also, we have set up a thing called. Anyway, we'd like to have you make donations for our work, because we don't have a lot. We're not charging anything for this. We decided to change all that. So I'm going to give you.
He's going to put up the information about it, hopefully.
I don't know if it's going to work. It's not looking like it's working very well.
Give it a minute.
Okay.
Display offer.
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
Hopefully you can see that. Where it says, thank you for your support.
You can click on the button that says donate now, and that will take you to the link for being able to donate.
And anything we appreciate. Thank you so much.
Yes, because we are, we're doing all this as best we can, but the feedback, and I think it was definitely the right decision to stop charging for this, because it was just too complex and too frustrating for many people. And I think we just wanted to simplify it and
make it more available.
Trust the universe that all our needs will be perfectly met. And I'm sure they will. So, but your help is part of how that happens. So thank you so much for that. So I think despite all obstacles here this morning, I think we've had a reasonably good session. And
it is recorded, so you can watch it later if you missed any of it, or you want to tell your friends about it. It'll be up.
All right. There's a couple more questions I'll just touch on, because I don't want people to feel unrespected or unlistened to. When's the new? I told about the book. Election meditation, November 7th at 5 p.m. That's right here, and it's here. Go to Visionary.
Go to visionarylead.org. You can sign up. We do a nonpartisan meditation for the highest good in the election every year through our nonprofit, the Center for Visionary Leadership. And we invite you to join that if you'd like. We'll do it online again. And it's been a very popular way to contribute. Our inner meditative work is more powerful than we realize. That's how we can all contribute light. And regardless of our own personal opinions, I certainly have my personal opinion. We have to set those aside and ask for the highest good in election. So join us for that. Again, it's November 7th, the day before the election, at 5 p.m. Pacific time.
Okay, just to address the vaccine issue in California, I have gotten this before, that whatever might have been harmful in those vaccines has been neutralized. That's what I got. Human rights in North Korea, well, until we have a huge shift in the whole reality here, it's not going to be likely. Now, someone said I said 97.8% last time, not 97. Well, I was doing it off the top of my head. If I said 98, then it was 98. It's not going backwards, that's for sure.
In terms of how much completion.
Sorry about that. And the thing about women and feminine energy is certainly not limited to souls inhabiting female bodies. So let's not get confused here. But the balance of the two, masculine and feminine energies, within our own beings is a crucial element in creating world peace, gender peace, everything that we need to help stabilize the planet and, again, reduce conflict in another dimension where it is so prevalent and so pervasive. And we have this whole, as far as women are concerned, this whole black hole called the Middle East, most of it, which is just not in any near what is a sane attitude about gender. So that's all got to be worked out, and we'll see how that goes. So I want to thank you all for being here. I apologize for the technical issues, but we managed to persevere, and thank you all for being with us. And I will continue to do my very best to give you what will truly help you become stronger, clearer, and in how you can actually contribute in a very profound way to what is going on this planet with a depth of knowledge and perspective that will give you some tools. And if anyone would like to give me any feedback about this thing today, you can send me a personal email to World Transfiguration
at
gmail.com. That will reach me directly, worldtransfiguration@gmail.com. I'd love to hear how this was for you, how any suggestions or anything at all about this session would be very helpful, because we do pay very close attention to what you say and try to address whatever you ask for and bring up. Okay, so have a glorious month, and may the forces of light be with you always, and may you find your highest soul contribution to this planet in this time of incredible opportunity to make a significant and meaningful difference to the future of this world. Thank you.